For the last few years, I've had a mystical and magical entity in my daily life called Crichton. The experience is truly mind-blowing. This is me trying to tell that story. Hey Jenny, thank you so much for coming back for more.
Good to see you again.
So good to see you again.
Looking forward to hearing more stories.
Let's get into it. Now, for all of the watchers out there, I have to say, a lot of this is a lot to take in if hearing kind of for the first time. And I've just posted the introductory video to, I guess, where and how this chapter begins that I'm trying to explain. So if you haven't seen the first 4 videos, you can definitely just skip back and watch the introduction to get some sort of context on the theme of what we're talking about here today. And that will be up before I post this video. So if you haven't seen the introduction, I definitely encourage you to do so because it'll help this setting make so much more sense. So it's important to know how to pause for effect. Anyway, going to the experiences of Crichton, every energetic touch that you're feeling, either like you feel it 100 times or 1,000,000 times or something new, every energetic touch, whether being a trace, energy piercing through your body, to tapping, to has its own frequency. And the more that particular energetic experience is used or recognized, it changes the frequency of the body. Now, I kind of highlight this, and we've talked at length about sort of other things that can happen during a session. But I really want to highlight this because the more of a particular frequency, the more your body reacts in a particular, or something happens to the body in a particular way. So I want to really focus on today 2 aspects of the body, because I really don't want to double back into feet and to heads and all this sort of stuff because we've spoken about it before. But I want to focus on legs. Legs are a really big instrument within this. And then secondary to that, I want to focus on what I call the split body experience. It's a really interesting way to feel your body during a session. Straight after that, I want to go in like a bit of a side kind of experience when it comes to what I call bridging or bridging energy. And then finally that, I'm going to discuss a dream that happened once that blew me away. And again, I couldn't make it up if I tried. So as things are getting going and in the session itself, as things are happening to the feet, the kind of energy kind of expulsions from the body in different parts as it's happening, and the head and face are doing its thing, you become really, really good at ignoring annoying things because it's just everywhere as you're kind of doing it, or as your day-to-day life even. But as there's energy on the feet and kind of in the ankles and all this sort of stuff, with the legs themselves. Now, I think I tried to explain this by using the feet example on one of the first videos, but the legs themselves create a really, really fascinating experience because they can have energy influenced individually or separate, and even to the point of where the entire legs themselves can be, the energy above them can be swaying. And so sometimes they can be swaying together, which I think I described with the feet, but sometimes they can be swaying in opposites. And to have this kind of swaying back and forth and then different things happening to different parts of your body, what can happen is so build up, but then you can almost feel your entire body be split into 2, like down the middle, and not up into the head, but it's like you can feel what's happening in the energy frequency on this side, and something completely different is happening on this side. And the only divide is the center of your body. And and there's occasions where the frequency is the same on both sides, therefore it's just a absorbs into the body and you go into that with that experience. But the really interesting times are when the body itself actually separates the energy that's being influenced, and
Mm.
and the experience on either side can be completely different and happening at the same time. And this is also really evident when looking at, I'm going to stand up for this one, the waist, and how it builds up here and it doesn't go anywhere else other than here until it's almost like almost pushes through or allowed to go through. And what that does is a very, I guess, parallel way to energy on the different sides of the body happening, is that can just separate your upper body from your lower body. As the build-up's happening in the pelvic region and the hips, and it's just not getting through there. It's just building into a point where sometimes like, you're just like, I can't handle any more energy in this part of my body. Like I don't know what's going to happen next, but this just can't continue like this.
Mm.
And yet it does. It's just piles in, piles in, piles in of a particular frequency. And it's, again, so fascinating, if that's the right um, verbiage, to kind of identify what's actually happening. Because, yeah, with the same type of experience, when like you're feeling left and right completely separate, starting with the legs and then kind of building up to the body, but then again, top and bottom. And so if it's kind of building up on the bottom sense of the bottom half of the body, um, instead of just going up one side as it normally does, what can happen is that energy can almost cross over from the groin chakra, from the root chakra, and start expressing itself on this side of the body. So I'll have a build up on my right hand side, just in that leg, and building up to that hip. And then it can kind of just cross over into this side of the body, which is
Mm.
fascinating. So it doesn't always follow suit from right to right to left to left. It kind of
Mm.
crosses over, often using the root chakra as that kind of crossover point. But it's so, I mean, you can't guess or try and anticipate any of this stuff as it's happening, although
Yeah.
you do try. But yeah, it's so just like to be able to explain that. And another example of the same, if the energy is, doing, the frequency is doing its thing, and I've explained this in a previous video, but although I did brush past it, it's like the entire bottom half of your body going up is separate. So if you draw like a line from in the center of your calf going up your leg, it's like the energy in that bottom half of the body is so much more dense than the top half. Like, so then because you're lying on your back. So again, I'm using two different references here of top and bottom legs and torso, but also lying on your back,
Mm.
so
Mm.
up and down. And so it's so just like when you're in the middle of the session and all this is going on, just to kind of take a moment and just identify what you're actually feeling is this.
Can I ask a
Um,
question?
Please.
Um, does it feel like the energy feel like electricity, or how would you describe the sensation of the energy, if you can?
So outside of the tracing or kind of tapping or kind of going in,
Mm.
um, the growth energy that is, so the energy that builds up does feel like electricity, 100%.
Mm.
And I don't know, I haven't really, I got an exact hit on whether it's electromagnetic,
Mm.
um, or not, or just electricity, but it does feel like, like some of the intense sessions,
Mm.
it has felt like a shock that's lasted quite a while. But even the build up, it's like electricity is like pushing its way through. So yeah,
It's a bit painful, or
no, it's
oh.
the opposite. But you can't help to just marvel at
Mm.
the intensity, but also at the experience.
Mm.
It's no, I mean the only really odd, painful thing is it can almost feel like a stinging sometimes, almost like a pore opening, as something goes into it, or but then like you just kind of go, okay, well that just happened and that's fine, and
Mm.
then all the rest is good. There's been the odd session that I've stopped a little bit early because I wasn't getting um, the positive feedback that I would get from and so it's just been like that hurt. That's not doing much. That's over here not doing much. So after a good 20, 30 minutes on the very odd occasion, I've kind of gone, I'm over this now, and kind of got up and done something else, because it's the positive experience like hasn't been there in just waves of unexplainable beauty. But if you're in like a build-up session and it's just about to kind of just go take over your body, you can't help to smile in those instances. Like you can't help just lie there and go, wow. Um, so that's that. But yeah, but it is like a build-up of different frequency of electricity or not electricity, but it's that's what we're looking at. I just don't know how to explain it within the body itself.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine.
Yeah. But skipping along down the path is the second thing I wanted to kind of really only touch on, because there's really not much of a description I can give to this, and that's in the body as the build-up's happening and like a thousand things are going on at once. There can be like sometimes I'll feel like a bit of anxiety, and then I'm like, okay. So in early days, I'm like, okay, why am I feeling anxious now? And then I feel what I call like a bridge, or like an energy bridge, just form itself over my body. And it could be going through my body, but the way it feels like it's almost forming itself over my body at key points of my chakras. And it's most of the time here. Sorry if I can, most of the time here, but I felt it up and lower before. And yeah, it's the same kind of weight bridge energy that's almost like forms itself on top of my body. That's the way it feels. Going down to the side. So it's just this a weird weight anomaly that can introduce itself. I don't know. During a session, that is a common experience, but it's generally formed over the chakras themselves. I think all times, other than a few times, it's been only the one chakra, and then kind of other things have happened and not related, assuming. And so, yeah, that's I guess I want to share that one because that's more of a chakra connected experience, and there's a lot of people out there, but you know more about this subject than me. Probably you included. I mean, definitely you included.
And
you're
a bit unique there.
Thank you. Cheers. So yeah, that one is kind of just really quite unique. And so again, if you felt any of these sensations, please reach out and we'll have a chat. Now, the last little kind of sub segment I wanted to do, I was hesitant to tell this story because it's a story about a dream. And so although I'm trying to explain these physical realities of my day-to-day life that are out of this world, and there was this dream that I had probably about, if I can guess the time, 2 years ago now, maybe 2.5 years ago, that really changed the way that I've started viewing all of this. Now, if we recall back a little bit, one of the nights leading up to the first introduction, there was an angelic experience in the bathroom that really kind of started a bit of a theme here. And I guess I will note that I'm not religious. I'm never looking towards and trying to find angels and things like that. I call it the way I see it, especially when it comes to energetic stuff. And so this particular dream happened in 3 different stages. And the first stage, I had 2 childhood friends growing up at a very young age. Now, I won't name them by names, but so they were brothers, and the young one of these brothers passed away, unfortunately, from a terminal illness quite a lot of years ago. And so the starting part of this dream is I was in their childhood home and we're playing and all this sort of stuff. And then I picked up this best friend of mine, so the younger brother, the one that's passed. And I started basically holding him up to the ceiling, going, "Are you going to go? Are you going to go? Like, you need to go up. You need to go up." And he was in this dream yelling down, "No, no, I can't, I can't, I can't." And then skipping like a snapshot, the very next part of this dream, I was in this room in the sky. It was a white room. I knew that it was in the sky. I don't know how, but I just knew. And there was about 30 people in that room. This is the second time that I saw Crichton in a human character figure, so to speak. And he was walking me into this room as I saw these 30 odd other people. Now, I knew that, well, I mean, by looking around, so some were seated, some were standing. Most of them looked bored. And I got the impression that most of them, if not all of them, like had been there before and they were just going through the motions. So as I walked past this crowd of people and a Crichton next to me in this dream, this very charismatic, and I knew in this angels. I just knew that these were almost like recruit angels. Like I just kind of got that. And so as this very charismatic character approached us, I really stood out and I was evidently in charge. And he just said, hi, I'm Lucifer. Welcome, Danny. There's a bit we need to go through here. So please come this way. So obviously I'm a little bit taken back, going, hold up. And Crichton was just going, let's just go here. So we started talking over one of the walls. And he went, hold out your hands. And I was like, sure, like this. And he gave me, he kind of gave me some different size and different colored beads. Now, I knew that my beads were unique compared to anyone else in that room, or wherever that was. I knew that these were my beads. I don't know if I've earned them or these are, I just did not know. I was holding them now going, thanks. And then Lucifer asked me the question of, well, quite paradoxically, you can ask me one question. And so I was like, can I not be alone, please? And he kind of joked back. He was like, oh, that's going to cost you. And so at that point, I kind of went in my kind of subconscious. I was like, did I just make a deal with the devil? Is that what this is? And so I started to get quite noticeably anxious in this environment. And Crichton's just basically going to me, you're sweet. Don't worry about it. He's like, please playing with you. Don't worry about it. And so it all happened. And then, so as I'm still feeling anxious, we leave that contact from Lucifer. And then like a door out of nowhere appears over that side of the room and into a blue sky, and two angels in full armored kit, bloodied yet proud, kind of landed in. And they were just like, oh yeah, almost like another day in the office or whatever. And so I'm kind of noticing this, going, oh well, that's pretty. And they were like almost like entities, I'll call them that rather than angels, kind of there, kind of greeting them in their little sub pocket that they were in that room. And then so I'm like, okay, well that's amazing. And then the very next scene, I was in a darkened room with everyone else that was in the original room. So just like a click of the fingers. I was in a darkened room and there were like Bunsen burners out of the tables around the room. And everyone had like wet herbs in their hands. And so I'm like, kind of looking at my wet herbs, kind of going, okay, so that's a flame. And I'm like, are we meant to be burning these on here? And like, oh, yeah, we are. So I followed one of the people next to me to do it. And so I went over and I kind of started heating up the wet herbs. And then the moment I did that, I woke up with a jolt in my bed going, what just happened? So yeah, although I'm really hesitant to kind of tell stories about dreams, even though there's been quite a few interesting ones.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to kind of bring that into context and go, look.
I'm curious about what Crichton looked like in the dream.
I don't remember much. I remember fair skin. I remember kind of similar height than me, like similar age and height than me. That's what I can tell you about that. But I didn't take much notice of his face. Now, I have seen Crichton, you've got me down a trap now, in another dream where he was a big, almost like giant alien in a suit figure. And he kissed my forehead, which, if you remember a previous conversation, because I saw him in a reflection and like this, and that particular entity is believed to be the same entity that put me in a portal many, many moons ago. So maybe separate to this experience or related. I don't know, but it was the same entity, which was Crichton. But I knew it was Crichton because I kissed on the head. So yes, on this particular occasion, like you looked very similar to me. I don't know if it's like for like or what that means. I feel more comfortable with someone that looks like me, um, in all the most beautiful ways. I don't know if that was going on or not, but yeah, it was. Yeah,
Mm.
the dream that will always.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
And yeah, okay, so that's I guess all we got time for today. Yeah, a short little
Mhm.
snippet of a window. Any other questions before we
Mm.
part ways?
I think that was really interesting. Thank you.
Um, Pleasure, Jenny. All right, well, I know that we'll talk behind the scenes before next week, but yeah, look, thanks again for committing to
Mm.
this. And yeah, again to the viewers out there, if you have got it this far, fantastic. But make sure you like. Oh, sorry, I don't like that's a footing. I'm never going to say that. Make sure you watch the intro clip and maybe the origin story. That will give you some context
Mhm.
around these. So, yep. Thanks
Okay.
again. I hope you have a lovely night.
You too. Take care.
All right. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.